A very good evening and a warm welcome to the Biz Roundup on another weekend. I'm Ashing Vera Singha. Let's have a look at the headlines first. Sri Lanka opened its international airports for commercial flights after almost 10 months. All the safety arrangements have been made at the airports to welcome tourists. Aviation industry assures new additions of air routes soon as the airports were opened for tourists. News in detail. The Bandar Naik International Airport opened on Thursday morning for commercial aircrafts after 9 months and marked the arrival of 433 passengers on the very first day. Tourism Minister Prasanna Ranatunga at a press briefing held in Colombo explained over the arrangements which the government has been taken so far.
Now, as the Minister of Tourism, I would like to announce that we will opening borders to international tourists in accordance with the health guidelines from today, the 21st of January 2021. Our main goal is to prevent the virus from being spread from the community to the international tourists or from the international tourists to the community. Hence, we have taken measures to adapt to tourists in new normal. The livelihood of around 3 million people depend on tourism in Sri Lanka. It is our national responsibility to take into consideration all needs of our citizens that depend on this industry.
Chairperson of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, Kimali Fernando, also addressed a media briefing last Thursday in Colombo and reiterated on the facilities which the Sri Lanka Tourism provided to open airports from last Thursday onwards.
We are truly delighted to announce that the borders are open for international visitors today. Sri Lanka, as you know, is blessed and gifted with features, with amazing features, the amazing diversity, whether it be wildlife, natural resources, with the highest density of waterfalls in the world, the spectacular beaches, the lush tea plantations, a country you could see an elephant, a leopard, a whale in just one day. We are proud of our rich history, our culture, our food that is now known to build immunity, our Ayurveda, our Helavadakama. We want to share with the world. Sri Lanka is truly all what Asia has to offer. The most beautiful island in the world. There is no mandatory requirement to stay. There is no restrictive quarantine. The request is to stay in one of the diverse hotels that are certified and safe. Enjoy all the facilities in the hotel while visiting tourist sites in a bubble the first 14 days of your stay. Sri Lanka is prepared. Sri Lanka is ready. Sri Lanka is open to welcome you back.
Chairperson of the Tourism Development Authority, Kimali Fernando, also added that the opening of Sri Lanka for the tourists was a result of a team effort. The chief of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority further said Sri Lanka is ready to offer a wide range of facilities and excitement for all the tourists who visit Sri Lanka.
Our tourism industry is equipped. We are coordinated. We are ready to welcome you and to give the world the warmth of the Sri Lankan hospitality while ensuring safety and health. However, I must say that no system or process is perfect, but we ensure that we are on it with our entire team, may it be the Ministry of Health, the COVID Task Force, the Civil Aviation Authority, the Airport Aviation Authority, the Department of Immigration and Immigration, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and our entire industry, including the travel agents, tour operators, hotels, accommodation providers, tour guides, tourist drivers, all the airlines, including the national carrier, Sri Lankan Airlines. We are united front and we are on it to ensure our travelers have the best possible experience in Sri Lanka.
While the government decides to open the airports for tourists, Sri Lankan Airlines revealed the basic but mandatory requirements for any tourist to enter Sri Lanka. Airport and Aviation Services Direct Operations Shehan Sumanasekara, speaking to a team media personnel at the Bandar Naik International Airport premises on Wednesday morning, said that a COVID-19 negative report and many other areas will be checked online before issuing visa.
So the first thing that the tourists would have to attend to is they would have to go into the Sri Lankan tourism website, which is www.srilanka.travel. and enter that website, and they will have to go and have a hotel booking, a reservation done, and they'll have to choose between 53 hotels which are named safe and secure level 1 hotels. So once they kind of get that zoomed on whatever the hotel that they need to, they will also have to make a payment for the PCR test depending on how many days they stay in Sri Lanka. If they stay 1 to 6 days, they will only have to pay $40 for one PCR test. And if they are staying beyond 7 days in Sri Lanka for tourism purposes, they will have to pay for 2 PCR tests. That's $40 into 2. At the same time, they will have to pay $12 US for a COVID insurance certificate as well when they're entering. So with all these, once they do these payments, the hotel will send the passengers via email a reference number. And this reference number can be used for them to easily go and get their visas through www.eta.gov.lk. Once this process is done, it's very easy for the passengers to very quickly go and book their tickets. At the same time, when they're booking their tickets from a designated airline, passengers will rather also have to go and obtain a PCR negative test report 72 hours prior to their flight. So these are mandatory requirements to enter Sri Lanka.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Explaining further direct operations at the Airport and Aviation Services, Shehan Sumanasekara added that the procedure within the airport, whether it is BIA or the Mattala, will be very simple, and all the possible measures have been taken to complete the documentation process within a minimum period with no room for any congestion.
Our procedure is very simple. They will obviously deplane and come through an aero bridge. And in the aero bridge, they will be going through a disinfection process very quickly. And so their legs, hands and luggage will be disinfected. And they will be taken into our pier in our airport. At that point too, they will have to make sure that every single passenger wears a mask when they're entering the terminal building. So once all that is confirmed, they will be allowed to come into the terminal and they will be guided towards the health counters. Now, when they're walking towards the health counters, we have placed thermal cameras in our pier walkway. If any passenger exceeds 37.5 Celsius in that temperature column, they will be segregated from the batch of the passengers and they will be forwarded to a health official where they will make decisions of what the next procedure that they should follow with. In terms of other passengers, they will continue to the health counter. They will have to provide the health declaration form, which is also given on board the aircraft and which we strongly recommend that every single passenger fills this in the aircraft rather than coming to the airport and filling it to avoid congestion and safety issues, etc. So once they go into the counter, they will submit the document. Very quickly, the official will transfer them through that counter to the immigration counter. And the same procedure again, immigration card to be given, and it will be checked. And within 30 to 45 seconds, that passenger will go through the immigration counter to the duty-free area.
Airport and Aviation Director Sumanasekara also reminded that the Sri Lankan repatriates who are returning from other countries are being directed to the National Task Force to combat COVID-19, and tourists will be systematically handed over to their early registered tour operators. Director Sumanasekara further assured that no intermediate personnel will be allowed any transactions during the process, and the tourists will only be kept within the planned bio bubble by the Tourism Ministry.
Once the passengers finish their program at the duty-free shopping area, they will be proceeded down to the belt area where they would obviously collect their baggages very quickly. Their baggages too, from the aircraft to the baggage belt, will be disinfected and they will very quickly collect their baggages along with porter services available at the baggage area. Will be transferred through customs area with officials monitoring that. They will proceed and enter the lobby area, the arrival lobby, where Sri Lankan banks are available. We have made sure the banks are opened and active. All the passengers could use the banking facilities. Once they do that, they will be segregated. We will be segregating Sri Lankans towards one door one exit door and the tourists to another exit door. Sri Lankans will be monitored by the COVID task force and they will be taken towards their end destination in Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka tourism personnel in the tourism industry who are recommended by Sri Lanka Tourism will welcome and collect these tourists who come to the arrival lobby and take them very systematically outside to their relevant coaches.
Meanwhile, Sri Lankan Airlines chairman Ashok Patirage said that Sri Lankan Airlines has plans to open up new air routes and this beginning will be a boost for their plans.
We are looking at, even to open up new routes. We are at the moment considering Moscow. Maybe Moscow can be a good opportunity for us before the season ends. Our plan at the moment is to start Moscow by 15th of February if everything goes well. In terms of you were talking about the numbers, as the Honourable Minister and Chairperson explained, I think this is going to be a gradual process. We are not expecting, large numbers to come. But from Sri Lankan airline perspective, and I also have some information about Emirates, I think at least for the next 2 days, I think we are expecting about 30 foreigners to come into the country. I think that's a great start.
There are about 35 airlines which are registered with Sri Lanka as of now. And during the COVID time, as of now, presently, or before opening the airports for tourism, there are 8 airlines who had been flying to Sri Lanka. All of them were majorly national carriers from different countries. And subsequent to that, there were about 15 charter operators who operated flights to Sri Lanka, bringing mainly cargo and, of course, sometimes repatriation passengers. In addition to that, we have already got about 5 airlines who has requested, with this word going around that Sri Lanka is going to be open, that they have requested to get their approvals to come to Sri Lanka. And already we have given approvals to 2 airlines.
Now, Head of Research of First Capital Holdings, Dimantha Matthew, will be providing you the detailed analysis of the trading of the Colombo Stock Exchange of the last 5 days, including today, along with a forecast for the coming week.
At the moment, the market is closing in on 8,500 levels, and with that, what we are seeing is continuous buying interest constantly coming into the market. So with this, turnover levels have significantly increased. Now throughout this week, we are seeing turnover levels exceeding 10 billion rupees, except on the 20th of January. So very high levels of turnover. If you take from 1 year ago, we are seeing turnover levels more than 10 times. So with this, you can see that the retail interest has significantly increased in the market, and with this retail dominance, overall turnovers have significantly increased. Number of transactions are now over 50,000 per day. So with this, we are experiencing a major positive sentiment among investors at the moment. So we are expecting the market to remain positive, and also retail favorite counters to be dominant in the market. So also we are expecting a lot of results of companies to come, and most of the manufacturing, banking sector related companies are expected to have very good profitability levels, and this is likely to again drive the market in the upcoming week as well.
And that's all the news for this week. See you tomorrow with State of Business at 7:45 p.m. Until then, take care. Good night.